Hi everyone, it's Barbara Ann here on another midweek reflection for you. Well, it was probably, I can't even, because of COVID and the pandemic and the lockdown, my dates are all over the shop. I don't know about you, but I think it was 3 years ago now in January that Billy and I went to Iceland on holiday. I'm sure it's 3 years now, the year before lockdown. Or was it the year of lockdown? No. Oh, Billy's in the background here and he's saying it was 4 years ago. Where's the time gone? I can't believe that. Anyway, so it's 4 years. I really can't believe that, folks. However, when we went to Iceland, we did go in winter because we wanted to see what Iceland looked like when it was basically all white, all frozen. And it was cold. We went out in the mornings and the sun came up at 10 a.m. So one day we were going a tour, we went for the bus at 9 o'clock and it was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It was still so dark. So it was a wonderful experience. And one of the trips that we were on, of course, was to go and see the Northern Lights or the Aurora Borealis, if I've said that correctly. So we left about maybe 10 o'clock at night, or just after that, and we drove quite some distance into the middle of nowhere. And of course, that was to avoid all light pollution. And it's a hit and a miss when you're on holiday whether you see them or not. However, we all went in the bus and we all got to where we were going, and to say it was cold was putting it mildly. It was minus 17 in the middle of just late night. So we all got off the bus and we were told that if we had smartphones, the usual, all these smartphones, that you could download an app which puts a slow-mo, not a slow-mo, a filter onto your camera so that it's a long exposure. That's the word I'm looking for. So we dutifully did that and we stood around and all the experts were around. There were a few busloads and we're all looking up into the sky and the stars were just beautiful. I mean, there was thousands of them, gorgeous. So we're looking up and freezing as well. And then all of a sudden we heard, oh, look at that, and everybody's pointing up. And here it was just like a very faint, we would have called it like a mist, really, but it was like a white ribbon that went like so. And very faint, but you could definitely see there was something there. So all the cameras went up, didn't they? There we go, all the cameras were up. And it wasn't until you took the photograph with a long exposure that's when on the camera the light that we'd seen in the sky, which we saw as pale white, was actually green because the long exposure slowed it all down. So that was very interesting. So we did see a very faint, although it wasn't green to the naked eye, it was green on the camera. Not very much, but hey ho, we saw something. Now just think back to the last few nights when the Aurora Borealis was over not only Scotland, but most of Britain as well. What a sight to behold. So here at the Manse, we went out to the back of the building and had a look, and there definitely we could see a green tinge, not huge things, but just a definite green tinge more than what we saw when we were in Iceland. So it was just beautiful. So I'm now going to show you some images that were taken over Scotland in the last few evenings. Just look at the 4 following images. The colours are just stunning, absolutely beautiful. And all 4 images were taken in Scotland over the last couple of evenings. And of course, one of them was taken in Forfar itself. Absolutely beautiful. Weren't those images absolutely stunning? And of course, there are so many more that I'm sure you have seen on television and in the newspapers and everywhere else from all over Britain. Just beautiful. And some people years ago would have said, that was like a sign from God, maybe even a miracle, because people didn't know what they were. But did you know there is a reference in the Bible to the Northern Lights, to the Aurora Borealis? And I'm going to read it for you. So it's taken from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, in the Old Testament of the Bible, and in the 2,600 years old description, it says, I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. There we go. It's even in the Bible. And then I just thought to myself, there is so many things that in those days they couldn't explain, which we now know as well. And of course, one of the other things is the rainbow. I mean, everybody that I know, everybody goes, oh, look, there's a rainbow. Most people stop and look at it. And of course, we all want to find that pot of gold at the end of it. But I'm now going to show you an image of a rainbow that was taken just, I think it was a few weeks ago. When I looked and saw the Northern Lights, that's easier to say than Aurora Borealis. When I looked and saw the Northern Lights, and also when I see the rainbows, it really does bring to mind just so many things that I don't know. Space and anything out there is so vast, and I would love to know more. As you all know, I love anything really to do with space and stars and galaxies and planets, and yeah, but we know so little about it all, and I said I would love to know more. And that brings me back to the Bible. There we were with Ezekiel mentioning what we think they're talking about as the Northern Lights. I didn't even know that was in Ezekiel. Ministers are always learning as well from the Bible, because there is so much in the Bible that we don't know anything about. And that's why you have ministers. That's why ministers do a lot of research, a lot of fact finding, and of course try to bring it into today's world as well. So there I've learned something new about Ezekiel and the Northern Lights being mentioned in the Old Testament. So we don't know everything. And like that, if you don't pick up the Bible, if you don't read the Bible, if you don't come to church, well, how can you understand what the Bible's actually saying? And I know we all take different interpretations also, but that's why church is important. That's why we read our Bible, we come to church, we learn more about what the Word of God is saying to us in the present, in the here and now. If you didn't see the Aurora Borealis, then you missed something special. But I hope you enjoy seeing all the photographs and the pictures and images that were on television when they showed them on the weather programmes. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more, because I'm told it's not going to peak, these events from the sun, for another couple of years. So we will see more. So my little thing for you today is pick up the Bible, have a read at it, just let it fall open and see where it falls open for you to read at. And it's amazing what you'll discover. And any queries, come and ask me. God bless everyone.